This video is going to be a full course on brand partnering, on how I do it, how all of my clients do it, and how you can scale past 1 million per year in 2025 with your online service-based business. That being any agency, coaching, consulting business, whatever that may be, any online service-based business can benefit from this and can change their entire business around. And I know it because I've seen it with my clients and I've also seen it with myself. Now, if you're wondering what brand partnering actually is because you've never heard about it before, we're gonna dive into that in this video specifically, and I'm going to dive into detail on why it's the best model out there, why it's better than SMMA, IPGA, growth operating, and all of these other models, and what it specifically is, because spoiler alert, it's not the next shiny object syndrome. You can actually use it in many different ways, and you can just transform your business into the right direction in a way where you can actually leverage your strengths and mold your business the right way to gain the leverage needed to be able to scale fast. So brand partnering is not the next shiny object. It's a very viable model, and in my opinion, the best model out there to scale past 1 million per year, especially if you're younger and looking to get into the business world and scale it. And so I'm going to give you a full rundown of it. This is essentially an entire course about how to do it, what to do, when to do it, how to close your first 10K per month client, etc., etc. And it really gives you everything. I don't have a course. I never intend on selling a course. I never had one. And so if I did have a paid course, this is exactly what it would look like. So the value in this video is incredible. I really put a lot of time into making this video amazing for you guys. So I would recommend you watch until the end. You'll get insane value from this. And by the end, you will know not only what brand partnering is, but you will know why it's the best model, how to use it for yourself, when to use it for yourself in detail, and how you can close your first 10K per month client within 30 to 60 days. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. I'll see you in there. As you can see right here, this must be the most in-depth guide and course you can find on brand partnering anywhere, and I give that to you for completely free. Reason being is that I don't have a course, I never sold one, I will never sell one, and so this is exactly what I would have in my course if I would have one, right? If I would sell one, and I'm giving that to you for completely free. Now, one thing I want to dive into here quickly is very important. I started my first business about 2.5 years ago in this industry. I've had multiple different businesses throughout the last 2.5 years. I've scaled my first company 0 to 3K in about 3 months, second company 0 to 60K a month cash profit in about 7 weeks, third company 0 to 15K cash collected per month within 1.5 weeks, fourth company 0 to I think about 60K as well in about 3 months. So my point being, I've built 3 businesses past 10K a month in cash collected within less than 2 weeks each, roughly. And I've built 2 companies to a 7-figure run rate within less than 3 months with both of them. And this is what my course would look like, okay? I know these things from first-hand experience. It's not like I watched some YouTube video and then I put all of this into this and now I proclaim it as my knowledge. It's actually my own first-hand experience, and it's the experience I've also gathered working with my clients, okay? This is exactly how I went from an 18-year-old that didn't really know anything, no experience, no knowledge, no skills, no network, no nothing, confused, lazy, no vision. From that point in time, right, to now being 21 years old and, having some success to my name, and obviously going to continue to make a lot more happen for myself from there. This is exactly what I did. And so this is going to be of incredible value, but without any further ado, let's dive into it. So here's exactly what you're going to learn in this course, okay? First of all, you're going to learn what brand partnering actually is, because brand partnering is not a shiny object, right? We're going to dive into that. You're going to learn how to actually launch, which means how to build the foundations, how to get the first 5 clients with marketing and sales, right? How to build that up. Then we're going to dive into how to scale. So how to hire A-player setters and closers and scaling strategies. After that, point number 4, we're going to dive into how you can actually deliver great results. And here I will give you a full breakdown of my own internal delivery. Now, to give you some more detail to this and give you a detailed breakdown of what we're going to talk about, we'll dive into this right now. So first of all, what actually brand partnering is. So here we're going to dive into the definition. We're going to dive into what actually makes it different. We're going to dive into why it's not the next shiny object. We're going to dive into the business model structure that you need to have for it, who it's for and who it's not for, expectations and timeline for results with it. Then we're going to talk about how to launch, which means what you should actually focus on. I'll give you daily action steps tailored towards your specific situation offers and pricing, how to pick your niche or your ICP, how to book sales calls. So here we're going to talk about outreach processes, scripts and KPIs, content infrastructures and strategies, ad strategy fundamentals, and how to close sales calls. And here I'm going to give you my entire sales process breakdown. You can see we will go into a lot of detail here. Point number 3, we'll dive into how to actually scale. So here we're going to talk about how to hire and recruit top tier sales talent. And we're going to talk about how to manage A-level sales teams and actually scale your organization. After that, in point number 4, we're going to talk about how to actually deliver great results. So here, this is about landing pages, funnel building, copywriting, backend buildouts, as well as H&R, which is hiring and recruiting. Let's dive into it. So you've probably seen these gentlemen before, right? And I kind of slightly touched on this already. So with Mr. Sander Stage right here, he had the IPGA model that he told people to pursue. Eddie Cumberbatch had growth operating, and now he's doing content rewards. And Iman Gadzhi, obviously, he was one of the people that popularized the SMMA model a lot. Now, there is nothing fundamentally wrong with any of these business models, but I want you to understand something very, very important here. None of these business models are actually valid anymore. And what I'm doing in this video is I'm not telling you to do the next business model now. I'm not telling you right now you're doing agency, you should do, I don't know, SaaS. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm going to show you in this video is practically how you can take the current business you're running and make it better, make it more leveraged, and use your strengths, the strengths you have, the strengths you've gained through the skills you've gained so far and the knowledge you've gained so far in the right way. And that's super important. So what is brand partnering in the first place, right? With brand partnering, you go high ticket only. Okay, the target market here should be info, so info products. You can also go into e-com and Web3, but for anyone that doesn't have experience in these industries, I would always recommend info firsthand. You charge revenue shares. Okay, that's a super important part to it. And essentially what you're doing is you're getting into business partnerships. So it's not like you're coming in there and charging this retainer and then that's it. It's like, that's what an agency would do. But you're coming into there as a brand partner. You're coming in building an actual business partnership with your client, which obviously is good for LTV, it's good for referrals, it's good for word of mouth, it's good for your retention, etc., etc. Now, this obviously sounds a bit similar, especially to growth operating, right? So what does brand partnering actually have as like the differences between that and growth operating or IPGA? Well, growth operating, the definition of it is essentially that you build a school community for a creator. You target creators, obviously, right? And you take 50% of what that school community makes. IPGA, in this model, you work with professionals who want to sell their info products. So the tennis teacher, the hairdresser, the barbershop, whatever it is, and you help them get into info. You help them launch their info product. Now, what's the fundamental difference between these two and brand partnering? Well, with brand partnering, you don't really have a school community. You don't use that. You use something else, which I'm going to dive into later on, which is a super important part to this. You actually charge reasonable revenue shares. You get into an actual business partnership. You target high ticket scalable markets only, which in my opinion, again, is info, e-com and Web3. And e-com and Web3, if you don't have experience in these, info is the way to go. You only work with the best of the best. You don't work with low quality or mid quality clients, and you target existing info products. You don't target people looking to start one. So you don't target creators that are looking to start something. You're working with people that actively are running this business model. Okay. So that's super important. Now, this is not a shiny object. Okay. And the reason being is because you don't change business model. You just decide to apply your skills and knowledge in a better target market on a different type of deal or agreement with your clients. Okay. So let's first of all dive into the business model structure so that we have the fundamentals covered. Fundamentally speaking, if we break it down to the T, we obviously have marketing, we have sales, and we have delivery. These are the three parts of your business model structure, fundamentally speaking. Now, for your marketing, you have a couple different things, right? You can do outreach, you can do content, you can do ads. For your sales, we can talk about non-negotiables and the structure of it, delivery, sales teams, landing pages, etc., etc. We're going to dive into this right now. So I'm going to give you a breakdown here of how to exactly do outreach. I'm going to give you a breakdown of how to do content. I'm going to give you a breakdown of how to do ads, when to do it, etc., etc. All of these things I will dive into more detail on. Sales, non-negotiables. This is essentially about things that are always true in sales that you should have top of mind in any sales call, in any sales conversation that you're having, because it's going to make you a lot more money. Then we have structure, so the actual structure of the sales call, what we're going to dive into. And then delivery, here we can talk about sales teams, we can talk about landing pages, we can talk about content, webinars, fulfillment. These are different things that we can help people with as a brand partner, and we're going to dive into all of these. Now, this video or brand partnering as a model is not for you if you're just looking to get the next shiny object, okay? It's just not for you. This is not for you if you think that this is going to be a magic wand bringing you amazing results in no time without any work required. This is not for you if you're not willing to put in the work. This is also not for you if you are a slow decision maker and can't make decisions quickly and take action quickly as well. If you're a slow action taker, this is not for you. On the other hand, this is for you if you've been stuck for a while in the business you're running and you want to change your circumstances, but it's just been feeling like you're literally trying to bump your head through a wall. Okay, this is if you feel like your outreach just doesn't really get the attention it deserves. This is for you if you struggle with signing high ticket deals. This is for you if you're new to the space and find it hard to make money. This is also for you if you've been running your business for quite some time, but struggle to gain the actual leverage needed. This is also for you if you have drive and desperately want to make it. And this is also for you if you make quick decisions and if you're an action taker. Now, from here, we're going to dive into expectations, timeline, and results. Keep in mind that this all depends on your willingness to listen to me, your willingness to implement this ASAP, your willingness to make quick decisions, and your willingness to take action quickly. If you do these things, then you're going to see a lot of success. If you don't, then the information I'm giving you really doesn't matter and you won't be able to do much with it. So that's that. Okay. Now, this is how traditional models work. Okay. You're running after small deals every single week, week by week by week by week, only to find out that you didn't make enough money at the end of each month. You feel stuck in the same old cycle, 12-hour days, deep work sessions, trying your very hardest, but you're not really making the money you deserve to make. And I get it. Trust me, I truly do, because I was in the exact same situation where I was working super hard, but I was barely making like even 2-3K a month, but even at 10K a month, I felt like that. Okay. And so this is exactly what I needed to hear back then and exactly what's going to turn all of that around for you. So the way traditional models work is you want to go from point A to point B, right? Whatever that may be. Point A could be, for example, you're doing 5K a month right now and you want to get to 50K per month, which is point B. And with traditional models, what usually happens is you go from client to client. So you sign one deal for 2K. Then there's a bit of a pause. Then you sign one for 1K. Then you sign one for 2K. Then you sign one for 3K. Then for 500. Then for 2K. And this is kind of how you try to get to your goal. But quickly you do realize, because this is also one thing. In the beginning, when I was starting out, I always just wanted to make money. I just desperately wanted to sign clients and make money. And that's just what I desperately wanted to do. But the thing is, I quickly realized that although I want to make money and I want to scale the business and I want to have a lasting impact, I realized I don't want to work with the wrong people, because I did do that in the past and I didn't want to do that because, well, first of all, you don't get paid much for it. And second of all, it's just a headache. And so I realized this is just not sustainable. Going from client to client to client, because your retention isn't really good, your client results are mid, you don't really get good word of mouth, you don't really get good referrals, you don't really make much money per client, your clients are unhappy. Like, this is just like, this is not a business. I want you to realize that. This is not a business. You're just going from client to client to client to client. Guess what? Eventually, this business will break down because there's no sustainability in this, okay? Now, if we compare that to brand partnering, what you do here is very simple. You want to get from point A to point B. Say same thing. You're at 5K a month currently, and you want to get to 50, okay? If you want to get from point A to point B here, you will, for example, put in a solid amount of work, a massive amount of work sometimes, to get one large client, right? You really put a lot of effort into this. You research people. You use, for example, the perfect cold video pitch, which is something that I'm going to dive into later on. You really put a lot of effort into signing this deal. right? More effort on one deal rather than 10 different ones. And then after a solid amount of time, you close a deal, say again, this is 30 to 60 days, the estimate timeline that I would give you here, 10K per month. You sign one client that makes you more than 5 figures per month, 10K per month plus, okay? And now you focus all in on the client results for that particular client. You don't care about anything else but the results of that particular client. So that becomes your entire focus. And the thought you have top of mind here, and the reason why you're doing that is because one client can literally change your entire life. Trust me, it can. Because if you're working with someone big in the space, say you were to work with one of the biggest course creators in your industry and you get them amazing results, I can guarantee you, I can virtually guarantee you, this person knows 20 other people as big as them or roughly as big as them that needs help with the same problem, and they will refer you to them, and it's going to be such an easy sign if you do a good job. Okay, so you get a good client result. From there, say you get a referral for 5K a month, and then from there you work with that referral, you get them great results, etc., and then through word of mouth you get a bigger deal for 20K a month, right? Now these are not retainers, these are rev shares, as I spoke about before, right? But this is how you do it with brand partnering. Few clients, you charge heavy revenue shares, you go heavy on client results. This increases LTV, client retention, referrals, positive word of mouth, etc. You're working with few clients, making lots of money, building true connections, building a long-lasting relationship with these people, and this is a sustainable business. This is a truly sustainable business right here. Okay, now I want to give you some expectations here. Okay, getting large clients is not easy, but it's a snowball effect. Okay, you can sign your first client within 3 days, might also take you 4 weeks. But you need to be prepared to put in the work before you can actually sign people with this. Okay. Now I'll give you 2 examples of this. So the first example I want to give you here is my friend Costin right here. Okay. Costin was actively putting in the work on his business. He was running an agency for 1 to 1.5 years. And the maximum he made was like up to 5K in 1 month. But again, that was like the traditional model. That was charging a low ticket. That was doing things that weren't really that sustainable. And then he made the switch to becoming a brand partner with large info product clients. And he closed a client called Mark Shapiro. He has 700K followers on IG. You can look him up if you want to. And he scaled him from his coaching, right? From 62K per month to 212K cash collected in 19 days. That month, Costin made 10.5K off that one single client because he, again, had a heavy revenue share in that company. Okay. Another good example is my friend Alex right here. I met him when I was in Dubai. No, this is not my Rolls Royce. This is a rented one, but this is me and this is Alex. Okay. And when Alex first started out, he was building a real estate agency. And by the way, I don't mean to flex any case studies or anything like that here. I truly just want to show you that what I'm saying works, and not only for me, but also for other people. Okay. When Alex first started out, he was building a real estate agency, and he took that real estate agency from 0 to 50K per month in cash profit in 3 months. Then he went into Web3, so cryptocurrency, and started becoming a brand partner with big size Web3 projects. He's now making 250K per client. Alex scaled to 700K per month within 9 months after making the switch. So 50K per month to 700K per month within 9 months. And in the beginning was 0 to 50 in 3 months. So he took a total of 12 months to get from 0 to $700,000 in 1 month. Now, how does he do it? Again, he's a brand partner. He takes heavy incentivization from the project. So we're talking about revenue shares within for products. Well, what Alex does is he takes a part of the circulation that the projects he has. So what Alex does is he takes a part of the circulation in the projects he's working with. So he will have a coin and he helps them launch on Coinbase or Binance, right? He helps them list there, and then he connects them with a key QL, key connection in the crypto space. And he takes, say, 5% of the entire circulation of the entire supply from the project from that. And then he takes 20K upfront, 50K upfront. And that's how he makes 250K per client on average. Okay. So that's that. Now, 2 good examples. Okay. Now, this is the question you're asking yourself right now. And I know you're asking yourself, and I know you're asking yourself that question, so we'll dive into that right now. How long will it actually take you to sign your first 10K per month client as a brand partner? I never make any income claims. Okay? Because there is nothing guaranteed in life and there is nothing guaranteed in business either. If I tell you that a certain number is achievable in a certain time frame, doesn't mean that that's exactly what's going to happen with you. And this is why I don't make income claims. But realistically speaking, this is a realistic scope. If you have some experience, you've done some things, you've been doing this for a bit, I think you can sign a first 10K per month. I think you can sign your first 10K per month client in the first 30 to 60 days. Okay. This was the whole foundations. Okay. Now we're going to talk about how to actually launch. Now, for the how to launch topic, you need to understand what your focus actually needs to be. Okay. And now this depends on where you're at in your journey, right? Whether you're a beginner, whether you're an intermediate, or whether you're a pro. If you're a beginner, meaning you have no appointments, no sales, and no clients, then you should fully focus on marketing the entire day. If you're intermediate, you have about 5 to 10 appointments per week and 1 to 2 closings per week, then you should focus all in on marketing and sales. And if you're pro level, you have 20 plus appointments per week and 5 plus closings per week, then you should focus on scaling and H&R. So leverage things like brand building, et cetera, and H&R. So hiring and recruiting, top tier, top level sales teams. So this is everything into that regard. Now, from there, I want to give you some daily action steps. So the first 4 hours of your day should be fully focused on marketing. So here you either do or handle the people doing it for outreach. You do the follow-ups, you do the content, you do the ads. Again, either yourself or having other people do it and you manage them. These things need to be done every single day. And if you're below 10K per month, you do everything yourself. I don't care. You don't need to hire someone because you either way can't train them on anything. Okay. Now, example daily action steps. This is, by the way, what I call a power list. So this is something that I use myself every single day to make sure I get done with as many things as possible throughout the weeks and months. I essentially, every single night before I go to sleep, sit down and think about, okay, the next day, what are the 3 things to maybe maximum 5 things that I can do that if I just get done with those, I'm like good. Like I made the day successful, and anything I do on top of that, it's good, it's fine, I can do it, but it's not a requirement. I don't need to do it, okay? And that's what I ask myself. And then I get clear on these things. And this is usually what it looks like. The example daily action steps here would be taking sales calls, preparing a YouTube video, shooting and posting a short form video, communication, so taking care of all my clients, getting back to important people, etc., and then watching 2 training videos because I like to educate myself daily. Guess what? I also pay for example, coachings, consultants, courses, etc., because if you're not looking to learn every single day and level up every single day, you will get left behind. Okay, you always need to have progression in your business and in your life. That's super important. So this is an example, right? This might look completely different for you. It doesn't have to look similar to what I have, but this is what it looks like for me. Now, always focus on the actions that bring you the biggest leverage. And then you need to recreate these daily. So what I mean by that is the most highly leveraged actions that you can do in your day-to-day are fluid. It's not like there is these 3 things and you have to do them every single day and you're going to get to exactly where you want to be. It's that these change. And so you have to think through the evening before, think through what are the things that I could do the next day that bring me the most amount of leverage that just make me the most amount of money, make my clients the most amount of money, etc. And then you recreate these daily. It's super important. Now, by the way, you obviously clicked on this video because you wanted to hear about brand partnering. And now you're asking yourself probably, why is this guy talking about like leveraged actions and these things? Simple. This is a very extensive course. We're diving into a lot of topics, and this is all the knowledge you need to make brand partnering work for yourself. Although some of these things might not be directly connected or correlated to brand partnering, it is super important that you understand these things, because otherwise you're just not going to see success with it. Because the concept of brand partnering is very simple. It's not about the concept itself. It's about understanding how to do it. And the how to do it is exactly what we're running through. And this entire course, this entire video material is exactly for you if you are running an online service-based business. So whether it's an agency, coaching, consulting business, or whether you run an info product yourself as well, this will bring you insane amounts of value. So just wanted to point that out quickly. I'll give you an example here. So this is essentially a template that I have in my Notion. It's very simple, but I use this on a daily basis because it helps me structure my life, structure my business, and just make sure that I focus on what truly matters. So I have 4 different parts to this. I have my priorities. I have my recurring tasks that I need to do every single day. I have one-time tasks, and I have unorganized tasks, which are the ones that I have to assume or delegate. And so I always fill this out the evening before, right? And then the morning of, priorities are obviously, this is my power list essentially, right? And then when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what I need to do. If I have my priorities done and my recurring tasks done, then I'm good. Everything else outside of that, my tasks, unorganized tasks, these things, I can do it. I can delegate it. I don't have to. It's not a must. It's a can. And that's a good feeling because it makes you feel progression every day. Okay. Now let's dive into offers and pricing. Let's dive into the more fancy things you've been waiting for. Okay. So the offer that you create needs to be for info products that actually have money. Why? Because people only take things seriously when they spend enough money on them. If something is cheap, it's always going to be disregarded. And the goal of your product should be utilization. And the reason for that is very simple. If someone buys your product, then they need to use it to get the result. Okay. So the goal of your product should be utilization because that's what gets your clients good results. That's what gets you referrals. That's what gets you a good word of mouth, etc. You want the people to use what you have. But most people need some incentivization for it. Most people need a push for that. If you give something away for free, people don't care. I'll give you a very good example about this, and this is going to sound super stupid, but I recently got access to a course about content, about personal branding, which costs 8,500 euros. Okay. And I got access to it for free because a friend of mine bought it. Okay, cool. Now, I got that access about 3 weeks ago. It's an in-depth course. These people are insane at personal branding. They've worked with the biggest of the biggest people. And I'm not talking like 5 million subs. I'm talking like worldwide people that are known worldwide, like actually A-level celebrities. And guess what? I didn't watch a single video yet. Now, I'm going to watch it, okay? Why didn't I watch this course? Why didn't I even watch one video in 3 weeks? Why? Because I didn't pay for it. What you don't pay for, you don't value subconsciously. I don't prioritize something that I have for free because I tell myself I can do it anytime. And it's the same thing with your clients if you charge too little or even charge nothing. This is why free trials never work out, because there needs to be incentivization for your clients to actually get done with stuff as well, because a partnership needs to come from both sides. Okay. Also, this is just math. If you want to get to, say, 500,000 per month and you run a $29 a month offer, you need 17,241 customers. If you want to get to 500K per month and you have a 50K offer, you need 10 clients. Now, is it easy to find people that can actually pay 50K? Well, it's not as hard as you think it is. Okay. So clearly the math is in your favor if you charge high ticket. Every single person on this planet has the same 24 hours in your day. Okay. Look at Elon Musk, look at Mark Zuckerberg, etc., etc. They are just choosing to pull different levers, take different risks, and focus on different games than you and I. That's it. It's not like they are working that much harder. Maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. I don't know them. Okay. But fundamentally speaking, everybody has the same 24 hours in their day. And so if you want to make a lot of money, you need to go high ticket or mass market. But in my opinion, especially if you're starting out, especially if you're a beginner, you will find it a lot easier to make a lot of money with a high ticket offer than going mass market, because mass market is always hard to get into. That's super, super important to understand. Now, your price signals what results you can actually get for your clients. the buyer always has to be in favor of the deal when they buy. Okay, so I'll show you what this looks like and what I mean by that. There we go. So when someone buys, okay, this scale tilts heavily in your favor. So this is you, okay, and this is the buyer. And down here it's bad, and up here it's good. Okay, so this is like the scale. Now, as soon as someone buys, it tilts heavily in your favor, right? Why? Because, well, they just paid 10 grand, 20 grand, 5 grand, whatever that may be. They just paid the money, and obviously there's no results or no value or nothing yet. Obviously, they just paid, right? And so in the beginning, at the start of your session of working together, at the start of your agreement, this tilts heavily in your favor. Now, what you have to do is you have to, over time, tilt this into their favor. They have to be the ones in favor of the deal, because people buy things when the value exceeds the price. When the value is higher than the actual price, they buy, right? And so, or this is obviously a part of when they buy. This is super important. And so as soon as they buy, it tilts in your favor, which means you have to tilt it back as fast as possible. And now, the faster you tilt back this scale into their favor, that they get more value than they paid, right? That you're the one losing in the deal. The faster you can tilt it back after they paid, the more you can charge. So again, the price you can charge is dependent on how fast you can tilt the value price discrepancy in their favor. In the beginning, it's heavily in your favor because they just paid. This is exactly what we just ran through. Okay. Now you have to understand a big difference here. Most people think that a 10K offer, 50K offer, a $1 million offer is expensive. It's really not. Okay. Because there is a big difference between something that is costly and something that is expensive. If something is expensive, it means it's not worth the money. If something is costly, it means the price might be high, but it's worth the money, right? $100K for a Fiat is very expensive. $100K for a brand new Ferrari is pretty fucking cheap. This is costly. This is expensive. Okay? Fundamental difference that you need to understand. And you never, ever, 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 ever want your prospects to think that your offer is expensive. It should always be seen as costly, but not as expensive. Okay? A 50K offer is costly, not expensive. Why? Because of the quality of the offer, because of the speed to result, because it maximizes satisfaction, right? The faster you get the promised outcome, the faster they are satisfied, and because there's a high probability of success. And the more you charge your clients, the higher the probability of success and the faster they get there. And that's fundamentally how it works. And the reason as to why it works like that is super simple. And I'll tell you right now. If you charge 5K and your competitor charges 50K, there's a couple fundamental differences in between those two. If your competitor charges 50K, it means that he has more resources to hire better talent to provide better results. It means that he attracts better clients because high quality clients like to pay more. He has his clients being more bought in. They leverage more of their resources, so their time, their money, etc., to make it work. Overall, this offer, even though it might be the exact same offer, will bring way better results because there's more resources to actually get great talent and the client quality is way higher. Point blank. Okay. Now, you never want to be in the position where someone categorizes you as expensive. Okay. The value has to be so obvious and clear that it doesn't even come into their mind that it's expensive. Okay. Now, the price always signals who it's for and who it's not for because of the quality, because of the stats attached to it, because of the speed to result, because of the result itself, because of exclusivity, etc. If you only have one offer type, you're setting yourself up for failure. You need to make this tailored. Okay. So say you start brand partnering right now and you reach out to people. You don't have a one size fits all solution. You don't have this. Won't happen. Why? Because what you're doing is you're building business partnerships. You're partnering with people. This needs to be tailored towards their situation. So the amount of revenue share you charge, the amount of money you charge up front, the exact deliverables, the terms and conditions, the timelines, all of these things are variables that have to be adjusted and tailored towards the specific person you're talking to, because again, you're getting into partnerships. Now, there's rule of thumbs for how to do that, but that's fundamentally speaking what you have to keep top of mind. Now, we just talked about offers and pricing, right? How can we actually put this into perspective with brand partnering? Well, if you're first starting out, you need to understand that most won't be willing to give you a big revenue share and large responsibility because you have no track record. So if you're literally at the start, at ground zero right now, then most won't be willing to give you that. Simple as that. But what you can do here is you can start off with something small. I'll give you an example about this. So you could, for example, start off by charging 3K upfront plus 10% revenue share for a done for you webinar. You do that. You do everything for them top to bottom. You go above and beyond for them, and the webinar crushes it, and you crush it, and they're super happy. From there, you can take over their entire email marketing. And then over time, as you take on more and more and more responsibility because you're doing a great job, you do what? You gain leverage over them. And that is when you can demand more. That is when you can say, well, look, John, over the last 2 months, I've literally made you 60% of the revenue that you brought in. And I handled all of these things done for you. So I want this and this and this and this. Otherwise, I'm going to leave and work with XYZ person. Now, you don't have to say it that way, but that's essentially what you're doing, right? Now, at that point, you're heavily incentivized to go above and beyond for them. And that's exactly what you do. Okay. You do that with 2 to 4 massive clients, and you'll be making multi 6 figures per month in profit within 6 to 12 months. Now, is this a guaranteed result, a guaranteed outcome? No. Again, there is nothing guaranteed in life and nothing guaranteed in business. Will you reach multi 6 figures a month in profit? You can. You can also do nothing and make no money because you don't take action, don't listen to me, whatever that may be, right? But fundamentally speaking, if you listen to everything I'm saying, every single thing, you rewatch this video multiple times, you implement everything I'm talking about, and you do that for 12 months straight, there is no way in which you don't make at least a couple $100,000 per year in profit. At least, usually more, right? There's no way. So that's super important. But that's, again, if you have the right guidance. And this is also one thing I want you to understand. Over the last 2.5 years, I told you part of my track record so far. I totally believe that a big part of the success that I've had so far boils back down to me working with the right people. Because I've had about 5 different people that I've worked with so far. So mentors, coaches, consultants, people guiding me. A couple of them were pretty shady and really shit. And that obviously wasn't really worth the investment. But there was 2 or 3 people in there that really changed around things for me. And I've just realized that when you're working with the right person by your side and you get the right guidance, it just opens up all doors for you. And so that's why I'm telling you, that's why I'm saying that this is key to growth. This is key to business growth. If you want to grow, then you need to have the right guidance by your side. Okay. Super important. Now, how to pick your niche, how to actually pick your ICP, you could say. Well, we need to understand, first of all, what an ideal niche, an ideal industry looks like in the first place, right? Your ideal niche should be easy to target. Usually, people should have a lot of money to pay you, enough money to pay your offer. It should be a growing market. Why? Because if a market isn't growing, it's dying, and we don't want to be in a dying market. So it doesn't really matter if a market stays at the same level, but if a market stays at the same level, it means it's growing. It's just a natural law, right? It just works like that. So we need a growing market. We need to have the market size on point. So it needs to be big enough for us to actually target a lot of people. And there needs to be pain that we can solve with our offer. Now, this, if you've heard this before, this is obviously from Mr. Alex Hormozi right here. But I think that he missed 2 parts to this, which is experience and enjoyment. If you do something that you find interesting, that you ideally enjoy, that you like, that you have experience with, work will feel effortless. Okay? And so if you can make work feel effortless, guess what? You're going to do it for way longer. So you're going to be a lot more consistent. You're going to do it for more every single day because you actually like it. And as you know, marketing and sales is an energy transfer. If you're genuinely interested in something and you talk to someone about that thing on a sales call and about helping him with it on a sales call, they will feel that. People aren't stupid. People can feel your energy. So if you have a niche that ticks all these boxes right here, the fundamental rational ones, right? But again, these boxes, you will find those in a lot of markets. But at the same time, you tick these two right here. You found the perfect market for yourself. So that's that. Now, I truly believe as a brand partner, when you're young, there's these three niches that you should be looking into. Why? Simple. Because this is how the young people get rich right now. This is how young people make money. If young people make a lot of money, it's usually in one of these three industries. Why? Because it's all online. You're working with people your age. There's a lot of scalability there because the profit margins are just incredibly high. And that's it. Like, why would you want to work with Dentist Max or Realtor Bob when they are literally 50 years old? You don't have anything in common. They don't really care about you. You don't really care about them. You don't really, you get along, but it's just, you know what I mean? It's just not that nice. Whereas if you work in these industries, people are your age. They have similar interests. You get along well. Well, guess what? That makes the sales process a lot easier. Okay. In addition to that, profit margins are high. In addition to that, they are online. This right here is a huge advantage. And the reason being is because when people are online, they understand the nature of it. If you go to Realtor Bob and you tell him, hey, I'm going to run a webinar for you, he's going to be like, what's that? If you go to someone in the space that's your age, that's had similar experiences, and you go to them and you tell them, hey, I'm going to run a webinar for you. Here's how, here's a result. They will immediately get it. Sales process, marketing process is a lot easier. I personally recommend one of these three industries because that's what I myself found success in and what my clients found success in. Now, e-com and Web3, I wouldn't really recommend those if you don't have experience. Those require a lot of experience and connections. If you don't have that, then info will be your best bet. Okay. Now, how can you actually book sales calls in info? Now we're going to get into the more juicy stuff that you've been waiting for. Okay. So first of all, I have about 4 different techniques here that you can leverage for yourself to be able to succeed in info that I've used for myself or my clients have been using that have worked very well. Okay. And I'll run through those with you right now. So the first one that I want to dive into is fun outreach. You can see for these 3 outreach techniques, the minimum KPI starting out is sending 50 per day. The minimum KPI when you have multiple accounts should be 100 per day. Fun outreach. Here, you want to catch people off guard with something that is funny. For example, you could send a picture like this one. I love having peanut butter and jelly toast. By the way, how long have you been running product name for? Right? Very simple, catches people off guard. I've had people respond to my clients for this message saying, I get hundreds of DMs every single day. This was genuinely the only one that caught my attention. Right? Works super well. Then we have prospect outreach. Here, we want to make people assume that you're a prospect because the more often they message back, statistically speaking, the higher the likelihood of them actually being responsive to your pitch. Makes sense, right? The more they respond, the higher the likelihood of them responding the next time. Now, I'll give you an example about this. So this right here is an example of a friend of mine. He was running an agency that was targeting Botox clinics. And what he was saying was, hey, John, do you also do breast enlargement? They used to say, yeah, we do. And then he used to say, amazing. Do you have any open slots for the next 2 weeks? They used to say, yeah, we have this slot open, et cetera, et cetera. And then he said, gotcha. Well, John, I could actually fill those up for you. And then he booked them in. Okay. Very simple approach. You can use this in any industry, but yeah, this works very well. And then you have connection outreach. Here you would build systematic rapport before pitching anything. So here you're essentially almost making friends, right? And there's a couple different strategies for this, but I don't really think that giving you a system for that makes much sense because like building up connections, you should be able to do that. Now we're going to dive into the perfect cold video pitch, which is probably what a lot of people have been waiting for. Okay. This is the perfect cold video pitch. I originally had this concept from one of my old consultants and I refined it myself and used it for myself to be able to get in touch with a lot of high-level people, right? You can, for example, see right here, this is an example pitch that I've sent. I literally was holding up people's pictures in the video as well, so you can see how personalized it actually is. And it works very well. Even though this video wasn't necessarily the best video, it still got a positive reply, and I still had a chat with the guy. Okay, super important. Now, this is the structure of the perfect cold video pitch that you need to run with. Okay, first thing you need to do is you need to give an agreement. You need to show them that you've done your research, and you could do that in this way, for example. So, for example, you could say, "What's up, John? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. I just looked at your page and I saw that over the last 6 months, you've been posting 3 times per day on your short form reels consistently without missing a single day. So 7 days a week. So first of all, kudos for that. That's amazing. I also did see though that you're getting about 2,500 views per video." Now, what I'm doing here is I'm getting into step number 2, which is the qualifying agreement. Here, you're introducing the problem in a very logical, objective, and rational tone. You don't want to make this sound negative. You just want to introduce it, right? But it does look like you're getting about 2,500 views per video on average throughout the last 6 months, right? Bring it up, but don't make it sound negative. And then, because again, if you make it sound negative, then you might bring up their ego. And we don't want to have to deal with people's egos here. It doesn't make sense, right? Then we want to transition into a crisis state. So here we want to make it emotional. We want to show them that this is a real problem with real consequences. So here you're talking from an emotional standpoint, you're talking in consequences. Okay. So I'll give you the full example again. "What's up, John? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. I just saw that over the last 6 months, you've been posting 3 consistent reels every single day that you're obviously using to funnel people into XYZ product. And I've seen that you literally didn't miss a single day in the last 6 months because I actually went ahead and double checked, which is amazing to see. But it does look like you're getting about 2,500 views per video on average. And that's a real problem because the thing is, John, like 2,500 views per video on average might not be that bad, but at the same time, you're putting a lot of money and a lot of effort into these videos to actually be able to convert people onto product name at, I assume, a 3 to 5K ticket price. And based on this, the conversion rate won't be that high and blah, blah, blah." So now you're talking emotional, you're talking in consequences. Okay. From here, you want to ask the why, the how, or the who. So here you let them subtly know that somebody else should be responsible for it. You make an assumptive statement here, right? So you tell them who in your team is responsible for this and how are they actually planning to solve this. Simple. You're saying this because this lets them know subtly that someone else should do it and not themselves. Who are they going to talk to? Obviously you, right? From there, point number 5, you want to talk about the what. So what are you actually going to do to solve this crisis? And then here you go through the solution A to Z. So you really break everything down in detail that you need to break down. A to Z, everything. And then after that, point number 6, you want to do the call to action. So here you want to give 2 different options, which is, should I talk to you or should I talk to your team about this? Why? Because this is not a yes or no question. You can see we're using a lot of psychological principles here. If we say, let's hop on a call, they can say yes or no. If we say, should I talk to you or to your team first, then it's not a yes or no question. It's harder to say no to that. So that's super important. Now, this is the rough structure of it. Again, personalization, like for example, holding up their picture in the video will help a lot. Now, there are a couple of things that you need to integrate here still that are super important that are going to make these a home run for you. Okay. And the first one is authority. People need to see you as an authority for them to be actually willing to listen to you. Point blank. Simple as that. And it makes sense, right? But the authority that people see in you comes back to a couple of different things. It comes back to your tonality, the way you talk, how confident you speak, the choice of words you have, how fast you talk, or how slow you talk sometimes. That already gives you authority, but then you can also refer to your authority in more direct ways. Right? You could, as an example, come in and tell them, I'm actually working with XYZ person on this to help you solve this problem. This is something I did before, where I was working with my consultant who had huge clients. And then I, in my perfect cold video pitches, told people, well, I'm actually working with blah, blah, blah. And I showed their social media account on this. And it wasn't a lie because I was working on this with them, right? So you can either leverage other people's authorities or you can leverage your own authorities. Just talk about client results and case studies. Give yourself authority. Tell people subtly or directly why they should listen to you in the first place. And then from there, we want to pitch subtly. Okay. This is during the solution breakdown. You want to tell them, for example, by the way, John, if you do want to have a chat about us potentially coming in and doing this for you, our price right now is 7.5K per month plus a revenue share, but obviously no problem. If not, make sure to implement this either way because it's going to make you a lot more money. For example, do you have to mention your price? No, you don't. You can, right? But subtly pitch during the solution. From there, high effort, high value, personalized. This is the pitch format you're following. Here, you are essentially following a pitch format that is high effort, highly valuable, and personalized to that specific prospect. What we're essentially doing is we're picking out perfect prospects only, and we're trying to get at them with a sniper approach. Because what most people do is they get a lead list of thousands of people and then they go at them with a shotgun approach. They try and spray at them and try to see kind of what hits. But that doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, right? And so the best thing you can do there is pick out perfect prospects only and go at them with a sniper approach, okay? Now from there, and this is super important, so listen up. Pain point is the most important part to this. And this is a very, very, very important point that I want to make very clear here. The pain point you're referring to is the most important thing. Because if you talk about the exact thing that they are struggling with right now, if you talk about the exact pain point, the exact problem they have currently, then they will be very responsive. That's just how it is, right? And so if you can hit the right pain point, they will be very responsive. And you can convert them a lot faster, a lot easier. It's going to make you a lot more money, blah, 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 right? Super important. The right pain point. How can you find the right pain point? Research. Do the right research. And over time, the more people you research, the better you're going to get at this, okay? Now, this is fundamental in sales, in marketing, but also in the Perfect Cold Video pitch. Your tonality. How you say things is a lot more important than what you say, okay? How you say things is a lot more important than what you say. That's super important. You never stop following up. You can literally send 80 follow-ups with this. Doesn't matter. Why? Because these people, bro, they won't see your message from the get-go most times. You need to follow up with them a lot for them to actually see the message. And the thing here is we're not getting on their nerves. We're not telling them, hey, did you see my message? Or these selfish follow-up techniques. We're actually following up selfless through value and third-party proof. And we do this and we never stop. Okay, we never stop following up. It's also good because people that run successful companies likely had to go through a phase where they just had to hustle a lot in their life as well. What does that mean? They appreciate it. When they look at your chat and they see you've been consistently following up with value and or third-party proof for literally half a year, they will reply because they're like, damn, that guy's on his shit, right? And that's super important to understand. From here, keep in mind, research should take you about 5 to 20 minutes, and the minimum KPI for the Perfect Cold Video pitch is 10 a day. So again, this is a way in which you can sign brand partnering clients. From there, we had the fun outreach, we had the prospect outreach, and we had the connection outreach. All of these work. With all of them, you can sign clients as a brand partner. Now, we're now going to dive into one of my favorite topics, which is content infrastructures and strategies. I want to dive into a couple different things here. So we obviously have long form content, we have short form content, and we have text-based content. Now, I want to dive into each of them and show you how to do them and what you should keep in mind there. For long form content, there's really only YouTube. For short form content, we have IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. For text-based, we have X, LinkedIn, etc. We want to choose two. We want to choose one that's like short form or text-based or both, and one that's long form. And obviously, YouTube is a non-negotiable. So YouTube is in there. And then we need a short form platform. Now, for the short form platform, if you're in info products, Instagram is by far the best. If you're in a more professional industry, LinkedIn will work super well. Usually there you can find a lot of high quality leads. If you're targeting an older demographic, older than 30 years old, for example, then Facebook works well. Although I still have to say Facebook is also pretty popular in the info product and sales space. So there's no real problem with you being on Facebook in that space as well. Okay. Now, there are a couple of different ways in which you can actually do this, right? So this is a couple of short form videos. You have motivational videos, you have value driven videos. I'll dive into all of those right now. So motivational, it's usually the ones where you have like the horizontal type video, and then you have black on top and at the bottom. And it says like listen and this motivational music. I think here I'm always using this specific sound, which is called I Was Only Temporary. That's an example. You'll find these a lot. Value driven. You can see here, this is just a raw video of me talking about something, just providing value. Now, I want to dive into specifically what these do and what they're good at afterwards as well. Then we have personality. So I don't know, when I was 17 years old, I'm talking about a personal story here. Split screen. So here, for example, I have my notebook and I'm writing something down and I'm explaining something. At the same time, what you could do is you could have a video of yourself, right, with your head and you know, the video of you at the top, and then at the bottom, you could have the notebook, and then split screen, a lot more engaging, etc., etc. And then lifestyle edits, right? POV, you're building and enjoying life. And then I just had a couple of lifestyle clips in there. And then we also, a quick little addition, have funny ones where you, for example, say how I look at the prospect after dropping price. I've already prepped the payment link. Obviously, that gets a lot more engagement because it's just funny. Now, I want to dive into why to do them and when to do them. So motivational is usually the things that get a lot more engagement. You usually attract younger people with that, people starting out in business, people wanting to start a business. This value-driven thing doesn't really get views, but this one converts people a lot because they see your face a lot. And it's just, you know, it's very valuable. Personality, this converts people a lot as well, because when people know who you are, they feel more attracted towards you. Split screen works super well. That's obviously very, very good for dopamine spikes. They get a lot of value. They see you as well. These videos are very good, but they just take a lot more time to set up. Lifestyle edits, that's just to build some authority, also get engagement. And this is just engagement, right? It depends, like what specific brand you want to have, who you want to attract, etc. You can see I've done all of them. Why? Because I wanted to test around with it and kind of wanted to see what I like and what suits me and what my ICP likes and what suits them. Okay. Now, YouTube. As we spoke about, YouTube is a non-negotiable, right? So this is my channel, the channel you're watching on right now. And I want to give you a quick introduction on how to actually do YouTube here. Okay. So there's a couple different formats that you can use. You can use talking head, whiteboard, etc. So we would have a talking head video right here. We would have a whiteboard video, online whiteboard right here. Vlog video right here, lifestyle video right here, Miro or Lucidchart video, again, same thing right here. You can also do an in-person whiteboard, for example, video with Google Docs. We can have a actual podcast or interview, these things, right? Many different ways to go about it. And there's different pros and cons for all of them, but you want to have one top of funnel style and one bottom of funnel style. So what I mean by that is you want to have one style of video that attracts eyeballs and gains attention. And you want to have one style of video that actually converts these eyeballs into money. Now, example, lifestyle, top of funnel, and very in-depth Miro board videos, bottom of funnel. Okay, that's what you could do. Now, why do you want to do that? Why do I say this? Because YouTube actually optimizes for session watch time, not necessarily watch time. What do I mean by that? Well, most people think that YouTube optimizes for watch time, meaning the longer someone watches your video, the more views it will get. That's not true. That's false. What's actually true is that YouTube optimizes for how long people stay on their platform after clicking on your video. And it makes sense when you think about it. So if someone clicks on your video, YouTube then looks into, okay, how long do these people actually stay on the platform after clicking on your video? Because they want to make money. They want to give more ads to them, etc., etc. Okay. So in that case, you get more views the longer they stay on the platform. What happens if you now have a Calendly link in the description? boom, they get redirected to a Calendly. YouTube takes that as that guy just left the platform, which is not a good thing, which means they will send less traffic your way. Okay, what's the better way to go about this? All of your videos with different call to actions, right, throughout the video, and the links in the description only link to one other video. So say you have these 9 top of funnel videos, and then you have 1 bottom of funnel. All of these videos have call to actions to watch this video next. And in the description, all of these videos link to this video next. And at the end of the video, they also show this one to watch next. This optimizes for session watch time. What does that mean? People stay on the platform longer, which means all of these eyeballs on these videos increase. And this one single video is in-depth, insane value. And then you have your Calendly, your Typeform, whatever it is in the description. And this video is what converts people. This is how you get the eyeballs, but then also monetize them. Okay? Very simple. Super, super important. Now, you want to here test around and see what suits you, right? Test around with these things, see what suits you. I, at this point in time, think I found more rhythm with it, and I now know what I want and what I don't want because I've tested around a lot. And now I can essentially go all in on this and really monetize this very, very well. The key here is authenticity. Okay, that's super, super important. What's up? So I actually wanted to quickly dive into the authenticity part of it that you've just seen on the Miro. So a lot of people really get this wrong. A lot of people think that the way to go viral with content, the way to build a personal brand, the way to attract more high-ticket clients, etc., is by doing exactly what other people do. But that's a complete misconception. It's actually quite the opposite. It's actually quite the other way around. And the way in which that works is very, very simple. If you are truly, truly authentic to who you are, the way you talk, the values you have, what you stand for, etc., and you truly implement and inherit all of these things, and you show them online, you show exactly how you are and who you are, that's going to attract a lot of people. Back in the days when I was starting out, I always thought that, oh, this guy made this type of video, so that's what's going to do well, so let me do the same thing. But that was a huge misconception. It actually just wasn't true at all. And so I realized that the way to actually get people to look at you, the way to build the brand, the way to convert people with it is to be fully authentic, because that's what attracts people to you. In this online world nowadays, especially in the online business world, you know it, in the online money world, there are so many people that are so inauthentic with what they do. They literally lie about their numbers, etc., and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not sustainable. You can't make money with it long term. And the best way to build the brand is just to be truly, truly authentic with who you are as a person and creatively show your life, what you do, etc., online. And if you can do that and you can just be authentic, you will build the exact brand you want to build. So don't be scared to put yourself out there. Don't be scared to be who you are and how you are, because that's exactly who I am and what I do right now. The reason as to why you're listening to this is not only because it's incredibly valuable, but because you kind of like me and you kind of like listening to me. And I don't really try to fake anything. I could be overly energetic. Trust me, I've tried it before. I'm just me and you like listening. So keep that in mind. Authenticity is key. Now, ad strategy fundamentals. I don't want to talk about a direct booker call funnel here, which is essentially where you run ads to a landing page and then you have people book in directly. I don't want to talk about that here for the simple reason that it doesn't really apply that well to brand partnering as a whole, from my point of view. Here, you want to be prepared to lose at least 1 to 2 months of ad spend before seeing results, especially if you don't have a brand. So I just wouldn't recommend this for now. There are 4 different types of ads that I would recommend you run. The first one is engagement ads. Here, you start by boosting individual reels or posts, and over time, you can take it to the ads manager to have better data. To be fair, I know people that literally make 6 figures in profit a month and only boost reels. They're not even doing it in the ads manager, so don't overcomplicate things. Next one, content first. Here, you make people see your video 5 to 10 times per day, and then after 1 week, you do a call to action. Okay? Community funnel. Here, you just funnel people into a free community that is set up in a certain way to then do upsells, right? There's a certain structure you can have for that as well. Webinar funnels. Here, you want to have a minimum ad spend of 2 to 3K. You want to run 5 different video ads. These need to be well scripted and highly edited. The KPI for the cost per lead should be $5 to $15. If it's out of KPI, just test new hooks. And that's what you want to do. Super simple breakdown of the ad strategies. I didn't want to dive into too much detail here because this really doesn't matter, especially if you're starting out and don't have cash flow yet. So this is ad strategies. Now, we're going to dive into how to actually close sales calls. Okay. Again, everything we're talking about, everything we're running through here, all of these things apply to brand partnering, right? And it's super, super important that you keep these things in mind. I would actually recommend you rewatch this video 2-3 times, right? I would recommend you do that because I know I'm talking about a lot of things here and I'm giving you a lot of information. I would recommend you rewatch it 2 to 3 times to really soak in all of the value. And then from there, you can take action. Okay. Now, how can you actually close sales calls? Well, first of all, I wouldn't recommend you to have a closer before you make at least 50K a month. It just doesn't make any sense. You need to learn sales yourself first, etc., etc. Don't have a closer. Just have a human conversation with people. Okay. People forget, like people have all of these fancy frameworks and these scripts and this and that. Fundamentally speaking, you're talking to a human being. Meaning, if you have a human conversation with them, you show them that they're special to you. You show them that they can trust you, etc., etc. Just having a normal conversation, you can convert them. No need to go fancy and try all of these different techniques. They help, but fundamentally, learn to have a normal human conversation first. Now, I want to quickly show you a bit of my data so you can see what this looks like on my end. So when I take 100 sales calls, I would get about 95 shows, right? Because my show rate is incredibly high through all the nurturing sequences I have, et cetera, et cetera. About 40% of those would be qualified, which is about 38 people. And then from there, I would get about 30 closes. And long-term, I have about 3 clients stay. And each of them does about 100K per month plus, right? Say I take 10 to 30% revenue share per client. That's 30 to 90K per month with 3 clients. That's the data that I've seen so far in my own funnel. How do you actually structure these sales calls? I want to dive into that right now. That looks very fancy, right? So let's dive into the sales framework. Okay, so sales framework. First of all, the first thing you do is intro report. This is where you need to break the ice. And fundamentally speaking, you break the ice by using one of the 2 C's. The 2 C's are commonality as well as complement. You want to take about 10% of the call length for preparation. You want to research the prospect to get a great intro here. What do I mean by all of that? Well, very simple. If you take about 10% of the call length for preparation, say your calls take 60 minutes, you take 5 to 6 minutes to actually prepare and research the prospect, and you come into the call and you immediately give them a compliment or you talk about a commonality you have, that breaks the ice instantly. And the first 5 minutes of the call most times literally determine whether it's a close or not. It literally determines the entire call because first impression's lost. Okay, so commonality, compliment. This needs to be genuine, right? You can't give someone a compliment on something that you don't actually think is good or cool or nice or great to hear. It needs to be genuine because people can feel when it's not. If you can give a genuine compliment, do it, right? If you can find a commonality that you can talk about something that both of you guys have in common, do that, okay? Very important. After that, point number 2, structure. Now, I don't necessarily use this exact structure for myself. I'll tell you exactly what structure I use, and you can read through this if you want to. Essentially, what I would tell people is very simple. I'll tell people, cool, all right, awesome. Is it cool if we just hop into it? Okay, perfect, sounds good. So essentially, what I want to do today, John, is very, very simple. First of all, I want to really get a very, very good understanding of everything that you're doing. So from the goals to the problems to the systems and everything in between. From there, if I do see that there's an opportunity for us to work together, then I show you exactly what that looks like and we make a decision at the end. If there is no opportunity for us to work together, then I will still point you into the right direction. Does that sound fair? Or is that fair enough? Right? Again, upward tonality is super important here. And by the way, you're not saying this to manipulate people. You just genuinely need to set the structure for the call, right? Because then you can make it structured. Simple as that. Now, qualification. With every important answer here, you want to go 2 to 5 questions deep, okay? So you can ask different questions. I'm not going to run through all of them, but fundamentally speaking, you want to understand where they are, where they want to be, and what's holding them back. And then you want to position yourself as the bridge to help them cross that gap. That's what you need to do. In the qualification phase, when you're asking questions, there's 2 different types of discovery, 2 different types of qualification that you can do. You can do horizontal and you can do vertical. Horizontal discovery is going through different topics. So for example, what car do you drive? Where do you live? How old are you? What's your best friend's name? What was your last vacation like? These are like different questions about different topics. Whereas vertical discovery would be you go deep on one topic. So for example, where did you do your last vacation? Spain. Okay. What city? Barcelona. Nice. How is it there? Oh, cool. Nice city. Perfect. Did you go shopping as well? Like you see, I'm going deep into one topic. And so that's what you need to do. I would recommend you, rule of thumb, 5 to 10 horizontal, and then 2 to 5 vertical questions per question. That's important. Which questions are actually important? The ones where you have pain. The ones where you dig out pain, the ones where you talk about their problem, those are the important questions that you need to go deep on to make the pain expand in their mind. Because the problem is, and this is something about psychology, humans are very, very good at hiding their own pain from themselves, right? So they kind of try and press it into the back of their head so they don't have to think about it anymore. But the problem is that when they do that, they can't solve it because they're not aware of it. Now, the more questions you ask into that pain, the more aware they become. So it's not like you create pain in someone, it's you make them aware and then they can take the necessary action to solve the problem, which ideally should be your solution. Okay. Then feedback and value. Here you can give feedback and value. You don't have to do this. I actually stopped doing this because it just didn't really help people. Most people don't benefit from tactics, but everybody benefits from broken beliefs. So I would rather do that because it just helps people more. But if you do want to give feedback and value, you can do this. Just keep in mind that before you give feedback and value, always ask whether you're allowed to. So ask them, do you mind if I share some feedback? And then when they say yes, then you can share it. Then you do the transition. Now, here, there's actually a mistake. You shouldn't say, I think you're a great fit for what we do, or I think you're a great fit, whatever. You shouldn't say that because they need to say that. Okay. But still applies. You need to have a transition. So say they tell you, okay, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I want, etc., etc. Before you dive into the actual pitch, you ask them, is it completely like out of this world to think that we would be ready to rock today? And this is obviously a neutral to downward tonality to show you're serious, but then negatively asking for alignment. So what that means is it's easier to say no than yes for the prospect. So if they say no to this question, they say yes, like the positive answer is what they give, right? So that's how you should ask it. And if someone actually says, yes, I don't think I would do anything today, which happens in like 2% of cases, then you just say this is a bit more intense. Totally understand. There are 3 things you can say today, John. Number 1 is hell yeah, let's do this. And I love hearing that. Number 2, though, is no. And I want you to know, John, that it's okay to say no. The third thing is what I want to avoid today, which is something that doesn't help you grow. It's just something that doesn't help you reach your goals. And that is the wishy-washy, let me talk to my pillow, let me think about it, let me sleep on it. I want to avoid the wishy-washy answers that keep us from taking action that get us closer to your goals. So if it's cool with you, I want to stick to a simple agreement that we're going to stick to a hell yeah or a no. But we're going to avoid the wishy-washy answers like, let me think about it, let me sleep on it, that don't get you anywhere. Is that fair enough? But yes, done. Now you get into the pitch. Cool. Here, you can see this is a bit German. You want to tell 3 different stories about 3 different benefits. So what most people do is actually, let me break this down for you because this is a very interesting thing. What average salespeople do is they tell people what they get. So you get this, and then you get this, and then you get this, and then you get this. But that doesn't really, no one cares, bro. Nobody cares. Good salespeople tell people what they get and then attach the outcome to it. So you get this, and it gives you this outcome. You get this, and it gets you here. You get this, and that brings you this outcome. That's good. But you know what great salespeople do? They get into the emotions. Good salespeople sell benefits. Great salespeople sell outcomes. Amazing salespeople sell emotions, sell feelings. That's super important. Now, I'll give you an example about this. So say, for example, you keep your people accountable, right? As an example, you could, for example, say this. Well, John, the first part of what we do, right? And this is, by the way, what I do myself as well, as a part of what I do in my one-on-one, which is why I know the story so well. Well, John, the first part of what we do is that there's accountability. Do you remember back in the days when your parents used to get you to brush your teeth every single evening, even though you never wanted to do it? But now today that you're, older and you brush your teeth every single evening, you're actually very happy that it's like that because it's a good habit and your teeth don't get gross because of it, right? Right. Your parents kept you accountable, correct? Correct. Cool. So John, this is the exact way in which I'm going to keep you accountable to taking the actions in your business that move the needle the most every single day. And even if after these 3 months of working together, John, you tell me, Elias, thank you so much for the value. Thank you so much for the results. I really appreciate it. I made my dreams come true, but now I'm going to continue by myself. That's fine because I kept you accountable to implementing the habits you need to be good at every single day to be able to get to goal XYZ. And now, even if we stop working together after the 3 months, when you're super happy and already got to where you want to be, these benefits, these habits are still there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do you see how that would get you to goal XYZ? Yeah. Okay. Amazing. John, if we could do something similar with you, is that something you'd be open to? Yeah, 100%. Why is that? Oh, because of this and that. You see how this works out, right? Here, you can also tell client stories, right? You tell a client story and then tell them, and that's exactly what we're going to do with you. How does that sound, right? And obviously, they will be a lot more willing to listen to something like this. Then you close, and then there's objection handling as well. But that's a topic for another day. So that was the sales framework. Already lots of value, and we went into a lot of depth right there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into how you can actually scale with this. Here, what I want to dive into is how we can actually hire and recruit top tier sales talent. The first thing that I want you to understand when we're talking about this topic is that you attract who you are. Okay, you attract who you are. What does that mean necessarily? If you are not an A+ leader, you will not attract A+ salespeople. Simple as that. You need to be an A+ leader to attract these people because no one who's an A+ salesperson wants to work with a B leader. Won't happen, right? You attract who you are. So be better yourself first. If you're not an A+ leader, no A+ closer will work for you. Simple as that. Now, let's get into a quick leadership crash course. We're now going to dive into leadership training very, very quickly. There's a couple of different things that are important when leading people. The first one is empathy. Second one is management paradox. Third one, trust and cooperation. Fourth one, utopian leadership. You can read through this by pausing. I won't dive into this in too much detail because it's not as important as other topics. So I will dive into this in quick detail. You need to be very empathetic with the people around you because you need to understand how you can help them regulate their emotions. Leadership is a skill. When everything goes right, you want to give away all the credit. When something goes wrong, you want to blame it on yourself. Okay? Always give the people that do well a lot of attention. This is how to handle the empathy side of things. You want to never micromanage. You want to give people attention when you think they're doing well rather than when you think they're doing something wrong. Okay, that's super important. We will talk about this in the H&R part that's coming as well. From their management paradox. Growing companies need management, but people don't like being managed. So how can you go about this? You learn to lead from the front. You don't manage people, you don't micromanage people, you learn to lead people from the front, which means if you want someone to do 100 cold calls, you do 200 and you do them way better than anyone else because then people follow you. People don't follow your word, people follow your actions. So learn to focus on that. Trust and cooperation is important. Utopian leadership is important as well. You can read through this if you want to, but I won't dive into too much detail on this. So pause quickly if you want to read through it and then continue watching. Let's get into the next one. From here, we want to talk about where to actually hire. Okay, you can hire from these different places and they are ranked from best to worst here. Okay, so the best one will always be friends, family, and acquaintances. Then we have the network. Talent Pool, online communities, Upwork, onlinejobs.ph, and Fiverr. Here's how I would rank them. 1, 1, 1, and then we have 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? These 3, friends, family, acquaintances, network, and your talent pool, are by far the best ones, by far. How can you actually manage A-level sales teams and scale your organization? We're now going to get into the H&R Accelerator, which is going to take about 10 to 20 minutes, where I'm going to dive into specifically exactly how you can hire and recruit top tier sales talent and manage them. This is also very, very in-depth, but super important for the brand partnering model, for you to be able to not only get great results for your clients, but also for you to be able to actually hire people for yourself. So let's dive into that right now. There we go. So we're now going to dive into the actual H&R Accelerator. H&R stands for hiring and recruiting. And the focus in H&R is essentially how to build high performance sales teams. That's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. The first fundamental that I want to talk about here is that your first team will inevitably fail. And I can promise you that it's going to happen. Most first sales teams actually fail. And building a team is way harder than doing sales yourself. And that's something most people don't realize. If you have 1,000 interviews, you'll probably have 30 people who you can recruit. And out of those 30 people, you'll probably find 3 very good ones that actually stick for a lifetime. So if you haven't had 1,000 interviews yet, there is no way in which you actually have a good sales team. Okay, super important. Every single entrepreneur thinks they work hard. Give yourself some perspective here, okay? Volume is key. That's super, super important. The second part to this, the second part on how to hire, recruit, and manage A-level sales teams, either for your clients as a brand partner or for yourself to acquire more people that you can partner up with, is to never stop recruiting. This is a fundamental principle that's so important to keep in mind. Growth is enticing, especially to salespeople. Salespeople want to see and they want to feel movement. And so it's super important that you show them that there is movement in your company, okay? It's also competition for your current team, right? If there's competition for your current team, they will automatically try and do better. You also have the freedom of choice between different candidates, right? You have more people than you need. You have an abundance of salespeople that you could potentially hire from if you want to. And here you always want to increase your standards when hiring. So you make one hire, the next salesperson you hire after that needs to be better already, okay? Also, you should never stop recruiting because it's more practice for interviews. You're on point when a super valuable candidate comes around. You need to keep in mind one thing. Interviews is literally like sales calls. Like you're literally jumping on a sales call in an interview. Now, it's without objection handling, but you still need to present yourself well. You still need to ask the right questions. You still need to show that there's movement, etc., etc. The emotions are important. It's an energy transfer. All of these principles apply. And when the perfect candidate rolls around, you want and need to be on point. It's so important. After that, you need to understand point number 3, interviews are a pitch, right? Exactly what I just said. It's obviously without objection handling, as I said, but here you need to have the right frame. You need to have the frame of the CEO, of I don't need you, right? You should never use words of insecurity. Always use words of certainty. You want to put in the work to better the product of your hirings, right? So you want to show proof to people and prestige and money. If you show people that there's prestige in working for your company, there's money, right? They make the most amount of money at your company. There's proof of that because other people are doing it. And you do that, then obviously a lot more people, a lot more good salespeople are going to be attracted to working at your company. Every single hyper successful organization has positions where people make fuck you money. That's just how it is. Every single one of them has people that make a lot of money. Okay, if you look at billion-dollar companies, there are a lot of people in that company that make a lot of money. And that's what it's about, okay? Career path. Point number 4, very important to understand when hiring and recruiting salespeople. So usually salespeople go through this exact path. They say, I want money. I want to make more money because they had a trauma in the past, because they want to provide for their family, because they intrinsically think that they're not enough for whatever reason. They want to make more money. And then they get into a sales position. And what happens is about 2% of the salespeople are good and 98% of salespeople are bad at what they do. That's just what happens. That's just how it is, right? Now, these people right here, the people that just want money, if you want to market to these people, beginner salespeople, because obviously you have to pay them way less, you market with the amount of money people can make at your company. So these people right here are way cheaper, and you market to them by saying, hey, at our company, you can make XYZ amount of money. Look at John, he did it as well. That's how you market to the beginner people, because they are a lot cheaper. If you want to market to people that are actually good, the good 2% of salespeople, then you need to market that you're hiring for a sales position. But again, these people right here will be way more expensive, way more, okay? That's super important to understand. So this is how you hire people and the different segments of the market and how to actually market to these people. And you need to, this is also one thing that's super important, you need to help people understand timeline and expectations. As I'm doing in this video with you as well, I'm telling you with brand partnering, this is roughly the timeline and the expectations for a certain result that you can have with this model. And that's what you need to give to people, okay? So you need to tell them, okay, you're right now making no money. How fast will it take you to get to, or how long will it take you to get to 10K per month? You need to help them understand how fast they get there. Otherwise, the interview is bad. That's super important, okay? Point number 5. Your salespeople only stay for 4 reasons. Salespeople that you hire for your clients as a brand partner or for yourself to sign more partnering deals, they stay for 4 reasons, okay? They stay for money, they stay for fun, they stay for knowledge, or they stay for the environment, or combinations of those, right? If they stay for money, it's about the career path. If they stay for fun, then it's about the role model that they have, right? There's a certain role model at the office that they like to follow, that they want to be like. And the office as well, because if it's a nice office, you know, people like going there, that's why they say. Knowledge, so the education structure, how often you train your people, how you train them, etc. And then there's people that stay for the environment, the culture of the company. And obviously people also stay for a combination of these reasons, but if you can make sure these 4 things are dialed in, then people stay. Super important. And obviously you need to understand how people tick, right? If you know that John cares a lot about the career path, then that's what you should focus on when training John. If you know that, I don't know, Max likes the culture, then embrace that culture for Max, okay? That's super important. Now, point number 6 on how to hire, recruit, and manage top-tier sales talent for your clients as a brand partner or for yourself. You need to understand the personality types of salespeople, right? There's the 16 personalities test that you can use. This one is going to give you a general idea of what specific salesperson you're dealing with. And then there's the Big 5 test, which is more in depth. But before you hire someone, I would recommend you use the 16 personality test. If you are below 10 hirings, if you've hired less than 10 salespeople, you should hire beginners, right? You should hire at the beginner level. And beginner level personality types for salespeople are ESTJs and ESFJs. This is like a Mercedes AMG. If you've hired in between 10 to 30 salespeople though, so you're intermediate at hiring and recruiting them, you should hire an ENTJ. This is like a rear-wheel drive super sports car, right? If you know how to handle it, it goes well. If you're already good at hiring, you've hired more than 30 salespeople and trained them, you want to hire an ENTP. ENTPs are mostly entrepreneurs, right? Most of them. And then if you've hired more than 100 salespeople, you're great at hiring and recruiting, and you want to hire an ESTP. An ESTP is the personality type of an entrepreneur. Now, as you can see, when we go from left to right, here we have normal job people, 9 to 5 people, right? 9 to 5 people that just want to have a job and just want to do that. And here we have entrepreneurs. We have business people, right? That's what we have here. And here we have 9 to 5ers. The more we go to the right, the more entrepreneurial they become, which is why when we go to the right, it becomes increasingly harder to train and manage them because they become increasingly more self-driven. Which means that if you have an entrepreneur as a salesperson, first of all, they need to get paid very well because they have big ambitions usually. Second of all, it's very hard to get them to do something because they're very set in their ways. Like they want to do things like they want them to do. So they don't necessarily like to listen to people, right? Now, if you learn how to control an entrepreneur and have them on your sales team, they will absolutely fucking crush it because they have the vision, they have the drive, they know why they do it, etc. Like they are the perfect salesperson, but you need to be very good to actually keep them at your company. And if you can handle them, they get great results. Here, ENTPs, most of them are entrepreneurs, not all of them, which is why it's second category for if you're good at hiring. ESTJs, ESFJs, again, that's usually 9 to 5ers. You can control them very well. It's not hard, but at the same time, they won't get exceptional results. Here, for the intermediates, the ENTJs, it's also more 9 to 5ers than actual entrepreneurs. So that's super important. Point number 7, attention. Most people handle attention the wrong way in their company as a brand partner, right? So most people give people attention when they do bad, right? So someone performs bad and then they give them attention. But that means that your attention is a punishment, and this doesn't work for salespeople. You cannot put your attention onto the people that don't do well. You always need to put your attention onto people that do well, because your attention needs to be what? Your attention needs to be a reward for good performance. Okay, this works for sales teams, this doesn't. Okay, so your attention is a reward. Keep that in mind. Don't put attention on people that don't perform. Focus on the high performers, ignore the low performers. It increases good behavior and increases performance in sales teams. Again, these principles, you can apply these to the clients that you work with as a brand partner, and you can also apply this for your own sales team that you use to sign people as a brand partner, right? Simple as that. Now, from there, the right training structure, okay? First of all, when someone gets on board, you want to have a good onboarding, right? You want to have a video training in place for them. And in the first week, you want to give them the basic understanding of everything they need to know. You want to do a Q&A with them. You want to make them understand the benefits of the product. And you want to make them understand that it provides great results. This is super important. You want to make them hyped and showcase that you're changing lives. And you want to do 3 trainings a week minimum, okay? Super important. This is very important. Salespeople need to understand the results that you bring for your clients. If salespeople know that you literally change the person's life that joins your product, they will sign them because it's their moral duty to do so. Okay. Point number 9. Salespeople copy about 50 to 80% of your performance. And this is something that's very important. This is also why I say if you're making less than 50K per month currently, you shouldn't have a closer, because the closer won't be as good as you. Even if they're a top closer and objectively speaking better at sales, they won't perform as well as you because you are the company owner. You know your results the best, you know your company the best, you're the most incentivized to actually give a shit about the company. You as the pacemaker, obviously your performance would be 100%. You will pass down about 50 to 80% of your performance down to your salespeople. If you get 10 appointments booked, they get 5 to 8 appointments booked. Okay. Now, at what point does it actually make sense to hire a salesperson? Here you want to just work out your numbers. If you make 10K per month and you know if you hire a salesperson, you're going to make 7K max, ask yourself, is it worth it? Or do I want to make more money myself first and then hire? Right? Simple. Next one, point number 10. This is very important for the sales teams of your clients as well as yourself. Lows are very normal. Okay, people don't understand this. In life and in business, it's always peaks and troughs. Lows are normal. It's not abnormal to have lows. Okay, and so because of that, we need to understand this. So here we have emotional highs and here we have emotional lows. Okay, now when people, so they usually go up here, right? Energy increases. And then at this point, at the blue point in time, you want to give people the right perspective. You want to tell them that you just climbed Mont Blanc, but you didn't yet climb Mount Everest. Okay, when you shoot above a certain KPI though, right here, this will lead to the downfall. Here people think they're God, right? They think they're the best in the market, and this will lead to a downfall inevitably. So they come down like this and then it goes up again. Here's the sweet spot and then boom, boom. This is usually how it works. And obviously over time, ideally goes up like this. You never want to blame people when things aren't going well. This is the worst thing you can do. You want to reverse emotions on highs and lows. So on highs, you make sure that they don't fly too close to the sun. And on lows, you make them understand lows are normal. That's how you have to handle the emotions of your salespeople. It's so important. Point number 11, watch out for changes. Humans usually have a certain type of behavior that they uphold, right? So if normally someone is on time, someone is positive, someone is driven, someone is interactive, and someone is respectful, and then all of a sudden they aren't on time and they are a bit disrespectful to their peers, that means that something in their personal life probably happened, something changed, something led to them having abnormal behavior. So watch out for changes in consistent behavior that was in place for an extended period of time, because then you can predict plateaus of a certain person. You can then predict that a plateau in momentum occurs, because a plateau in momentum usually builds up slowly. When someone all of a sudden starts not being on time, starts being disrespectful and is less positive, he's more negative, and he does that over a couple of days, that leads to a plateau. Okay? And you can predict that by watching out for changes in behavior of your salespeople. Point number 12, sales. Sales is its own company. Sales is its own company culture. Okay? You cannot compare salespeople to other employees. It's completely different worlds. So if you have an in-person office, you want to have separate rooms for these people. You want to have different values for salespeople, right? Because the sales nature is highly competitive and extroverted. And that's the standard you need to set for these people. Okay, if you have VAs, they don't need to be super extroverted or highly competitive, but salespeople need to be, so you need to differentiate this in values and also in rooms if you have an in-person office. You want to unite people on team events, and you want to share the same vision for the entire company. Okay, so you have the same vision, but different values and different spaces that you operate in, and sometimes you unite them. Now, how can you transition people from being a setter to actually being a closer? You need to understand one thing. Closing is a black box. Okay? Closing is a black box. What that means is setters usually don't understand how closing calls go unless they either are on them or they watch the calls. They watch it back, right? If closing is a black box and setters don't have any insight into them, there's no feedback for the setter on what they can make better. When you want to transition somebody from setter to actually being a closer, you need to open the information barrier and let them be a part of the calls that they set so they understand what the quality of them looks like. Next one, not everybody can actually be a closer, and this is very important. You want to have people in positions where they bring the company the most amount of value. You cannot transition everybody to being a closer because it just doesn't make sense. You need to tap into people's natural strengths. Okay. Point number 15, the most talented employees are the worst leaders by far. Diego Maradona is an awful football coach. Why? He was one of the best footballers of all time, right? Why is he an awful football coach? Because he was talented. He couldn't explain how to do the things he was doing, okay? If you look at Jose Mourinho, he's one of the best trainers to ever exist, but never was a professional player. Why? Because he's a student of the game and knows all of it. So if we look at the scale, say someone wants to come from point A to point B as a salesperson, and they have to go through step 1 to 8 to actually get from 0 to 10K per month. Okay, say that's the situation. Well, if someone with no talent like Bob has to go through these steps, then Bob will go through each step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has to go through all of them and learn all of them. John, for example, is talented. John, because he's talented, just jumps from step 1 to step 8. What does that mean? He literally didn't learn how to actually learn step 2 to 7. So if John has to explain to someone how he got from 2 to 7, he can't say it, he can't explain it. Whereas Bob can explain it because he had to learn it himself. Bob isn't talented, he takes way longer than John, but he gets the learning of every single step, therefore he can actually explain it. He would be a better trainer, he would be a better trainer for salespeople. John is talented, he just jumps from step 1 to 8 because he's talented, but he does not get the learnings from 2 to 7, okay? That is super, super important. 16, commissions can only be adjusted into one direction, only up. Be careful with the percentage you pay. Always start with a low commission. You want to start with a low commission because you can never decrease commissions. People will just drop from your company. Simple as that. From there, inbound leads make your salespeople lazy. And this is the last point for the H&R part of this entire course breakdown. Okay? Not always, but most times. When salespeople get inbound leads all the time, they become lazy and they don't appreciate the inbound leads anymore, okay? So you need to have cold acquisition in place for these people so they stay competent and they learn to appreciate inbound leads, because inbound leads cost money, right? Your inbound salespeople have to be able to do cold acquisition because that will be your backup. If you started outbound, you appreciate inbound leads 1,000 times more because the intensity is completely different, okay? When the appreciation is there, the intensity is higher, which means the close rate is higher. If you only deal with inbound leads, you build a lazy culture, and you don't want to do that and you don't want to have that, okay? Don't have your people getting complacent. Make sure before anybody is even allowed to touch your inbound leads, they do cold acquisition and or work on old follow-up lists. Only when the salesperson is very good at cold, you give them inbounds. From there, they understand the value and costs associated with inbound leads. So that was the H&R Accelerator part of this course. Let's dive into the next thing. From there, we want to dive into how you can actually deliver great results. And here specifically, I want to dive into landing pages, right? How to build them, what the structure needs to be, what tools you should use, etc., etc. We're going to dive into that right now, and I will show you an example of my own landing page and how it is actually structure. To give you a quick walkthrough of what such a landing page would exactly look like, why it needs to look like that, etc., we'll run through this very quickly. So at the top, you want to have a certain sub-headline that either, for example, adds some friction, so says this is only for people in between this and this revenue range, or for example, right here, a quick teaser. Then you want to have your main headline right here, which is usually the claim and the timeline. From there, you want to have a quick sub-headline right here. This one, you can have multiple different things. Here, for example, it says, watch the video below and complete your event registration. You can here, for example, also handle objections. So you could say, get to $10,000 a month within 60 days as a brand partner without having to cold call 1,000 people a day, without sending BS cold emails or talking to low quality prospects ever again. And then you have the video. So that's like objection handlers right below the headline. Then you have your VSL. Obviously, the VSL needs to be as high quality as possible, needs to look as good as possible. This one isn't my best masterpiece, you could say, but it's still solid. Then there we have spots are sold out. This is obviously an old event that already took place. When people were to sign up, they also got a lead magnet right here, which was access to the 50K per month brand partnering agency plan of attack. Then what you will learn inside, a bit about me and why these things actually work, and a bit of proof and these things, and all of that good stuff. So that's essentially the structure in these landing pages. All you want to have is this top structure. That's the most important. And then below that, it's just proof, stuff about you or explanations, and that's it. And that's the whole structure of your landing page. Now, in terms of where you can build these things, this one was actually built on Webflow, but I would recommend you, if you're a beginner, use either Go High Level or ClickFunnels. If you're more intermediate, use Webflow. If you want to go very crazy and have a lot of budget, get a custom coded one. So that's landing pages and how to actually use them. Let's continue. Now, from there, funnel building. One thing you need to understand about funnel building is that in your funnels, you always need to have congruency. Congruency on the pains and goals of your actual ICP. Congruency on your positioning. Congruency on your messaging, on your offer structure and your USP. Why? Because if from the ad to the actual landing page, to the VSL, to the opt-in form, to the emails they receive, to the booking page, so for example, the Calendly, to the nurturing they get, to the calls they get from you, to the actual sales call, to the actual product, if all of these things have the same exact messaging, positioning, talk about the same goals, the same problems, etc., then you're going to make a lot more money. When there's congruency in your funnel, this just optimizes all conversion rates. Because if in the ads, the landing page, the VSL, the opt-ins, the emails, and everything you talk about, for example, how to scale with email marketing, and then all of a sudden on your booking page, you're talking about mindset, people are going to drop off. Congruency is super important. Now, we're going to dive into a couple of copywriting modules, just fundamentals, so you have that top of mind as well, because as a brand partner, you need this for yourself as well as your clients. So let's dive into that right now. So this is Copywriting 101. Why are we talking about this in the first place? For the simple reason that when you start as a brand partner, you need to learn how to copywrite properly for yourself as well as for your clients. And this is obviously for landing pages, this is for ads, this is for VSLs, this is for YouTube videos, this is for short form content, so reels on Instagram, etc. So that's why we're diving into this in the first place. So let's get to it. First of all, you have to think like a copywriter. Successful copy is the transfer of your unique sets of knowledge, experience, and beliefs into words that sell. And the goal of your copy is to get to read people the first sentence. The goal of the first sentence is to get you to read the second sentence. The copy you write needs to be the best choice of words, etc., to get people to do a specific action that you want them to do. You want to get the reader to say yes and harmonize with your statements. And your readers have to be so addicted to reading your copy that they literally cannot stop until they actually finished it. A big mistake a lot of people make here is that they mispoint to non-existing problems their audience actually doesn't have. So this is something to be very, very aware of. You want to keep it interesting through provoking curiosity throughout the copy. And you never want to sell a product or service. You want to sell the concept. Okay, that's super, super, super important. Environment, beliefs, understanding, time, etc. dictate the quality. So you want to have your own process for prompting your subconscious to write great copy. So say, for example, you write the best copy in a certain cafe in your city, then when you write copy, go there and prompt your brain to be in the right mind space to be able to write great copy. You should read a lot, helps a lot with your choice of words, etc., etc. Your copy should also be long enough to actually compel the reader to take a certain action. Every single communication piece should be personal. It should never be in a group setting. So never say you guys, always say you. Address the listener and the reader directly. That's super important in videos and also in copy. The ideas that you present should flow logically. That's very important. Anticipating questions and answering them there and then as if they were asked face to face. When reviewing your actual copy, make sure that you express what you want to express with the least words possible. Sell the cure, not the preventative, right? You want to sell what people need to solve a problem, not what they need to avoid a certain problem. And you need to tell stories. This is the fundamentals. Now, I could get into headlines. I could get into a lot more here. You see, I have a lot of text right here, but we don't get into that in this video. For more in-depth explanations, obviously, we can do that in future videos, etc. But that's it. That's the fundamentals of copywriting that you need to understand as a brand partner. Let's continue. From there, we want to show you a quick backend build out. So this is essentially how I structure my own fulfillment for my own info product. And I would recommend you use this like with 1000% certainty, okay? So we're gonna dive into how to actually use WOP, integrate WOP, use it for yourself and for your clients. So let's dive into that right now. So this is the WOP platform. The WOP platform is by far the best one that I have found to manage your clients as a brand partner. And I would recommend you get on it as well. So as a brand partner, you can manage your clients on here. You can also use it for yourself if you want to start an info product yourself, etc., etc. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what the platform looks like, what the benefits are, etc., etc., and we'll run through that quickly. So first things first, you can see at the top, you can actually add banners. All of these things were custom made by someone for branding for me that the people I'm working with also have access to. So you can obviously see this looks very, very professional. From there, you have your logo, you have the name of it, you have the actual headline, you have a description, people can join here. Then you see how many people are in there and who's in there and the ratings of it. I actually recently started this one specifically, so there's not as many people on there, but this is essentially a very, very cool tool because people see the proof or the third-party proof you have on a different platform, which means that it's something you can't really control. So it always gives you a bit more trust. You can put in there what people will actually get. So here, for example, one-on-one coaching calls, chat, video material, group calls, this, that, all of that good stuff. They can learn about you. So you have like your own personal profile on there. So with your name, when you joined, the actual platforms you're using, et cetera, and a quick description of yourself. Then you can have who this is for. So entrepreneurs, et cetera, growth operators, agency owners, info business owners, content creators, all of that good stuff. And then you have the pricing as well. And at the bottom, you have an affiliate dashboard. You can see all the WOPs you're in or that you founded yourself here at the bottom. I joined a couple different ones just to test around. You have a discover page here where the WOPs in a certain ranking are listed, which is very good. You have affiliates, you have a dashboard, you have your messages, all of that good stuff. So lots of different things you can do. If you are looking to be a brand partner, if you're looking to partner up with info products, help them scale exactly everything that we ran through so far, this is by far the best platform and software that you can leverage for your delivery. So I would recommend you get on WOP, use it, and do that. So as we spoke about, WOP gives you a couple of different benefits, right? You have seamless integration in between products. You have actual shutdown protection from accounts. The card is on file, so it's easier to up, down, and cross-sell people. It's all in one place, and it has a clean, good-looking interface. Okay, super important. Now let's dive into operations. Now, if you're not very educated on operations yet, this would be like a 12-hour course itself. It's like literally its own world. So I just recommend you hire an operations manager for your clients when needed. Now to dive into H&R, we'll quickly follow this arrow. Let's see where it takes us. There we go. It's the same as what we just spoke about, right? How to hire and recruit top tier sales talent. We talked about leadership. We talked about the H&R accelerator. We talked about funnel building. We talked about copywriting. We talked about how to use WAP. All of these things are super, super, super important when it comes to how to actually scale. So here's exactly what we just went over. Okay. We went over the definition of brand partnering. We went over what makes it different. We went over why it's not the next shiny object. We went over the actual business model structure, who it's for, who it's not for, expectations and timeline for results. We went over the launch. So what to focus on, the daily actions you should do in your situation, offers and pricing, how to pick your niche, how to book sales calls, outreach processes and scripts, content infrastructures and strategies, ad strategy fundamentals, how to close sales calls, my entire sales process breakdown. We went over how to scale, so how to hire and recruit top-tier sales talent, how to manage A-level sales teams and scale your organization. We went over how to deliver great results. So landing pages, funnel building, copywriting, backend builder, H&R, etc., etc. Everything you need to know to not only have the fundamentals in place, but also know how to launch yourself and your clients, and know how to scale yourself and your clients, and know how to deliver great results for yourself and your clients. This was very intense, and to be honest, it was like the longest video I've ever recorded. It's very, very intense to actually talk that long at once. But this was incredibly valuable. The fact that you stick throughout this whole video means that you truly want to make it happen. So you will. I would recommend you rewatch this video a couple times, and yeah, that's that. So that was it for this video. I appreciate you for sticking through the entire video, and I hope that I delivered on my promise of making this incredibly value-packed for you and making sure that you understand exactly what you need to do step by step from here to sign your first 10K per month client within 30 to 60 days as a brand partner, and everything else besides that. If you did find value in this video, I would appreciate a like as well as a follow. And if you have any questions or thoughts that you want to have an answer to, then make sure to share those in the comment section down below right now. That's that. For the ones that do want to apply to work with me one-on-one, either as an info product or as someone who's running an online service-based business, so agency, coaching, consulting business, etc., and wants to get better at brand partnering and yeah, just leverage their strengths the right way, and you want to apply to work with me one-on-one on that and have me help you one-on-one with scaling to that level, then make sure to check out the first link in the description. It's essentially a type form. It's going to qualify you and see where you're at. And then if you're, at the right stage in your business and I feel like I could potentially help you, then you'll get accepted to be able to book a call with me, and we'll have a chat. We'll see where you're at. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. That's it for the video. I hope you found incredible value, and I'll see you soon.